I'm starting to think that the things that we're grateful for should not live in reference to each other. And when I say that, I really just mean that a lot of times I feel like our gratitude is displaced by the presence of other things to be grateful for. Like our love for one thing can cancel out our love for another when that's not the case. And in regards to that, I feel like overall we just need to do better at treating everything like it's new. Treating everything with the same intention, the same intensity, the same passion that we met it with the day before. And that's not always an easy thing, but I think it's important to treat each day like it's new, if not everything. You know, I feel like familiarity, when it comes to our own perspective, when it comes to our own life and our interactions and whatever we do, often displaces ourselves, because we feel at times as if whatever we're looking at, whatever it is that we're observing is at part of us. And then when we allow it to become super familiar, we allow it to become something that I guess we treat like it's mundane, and we treat ourselves like we're mundane as well. I feel like life's passion and life's love and intensity and the affection you can have for life isn't something that you should allow to be displaced. And while I say that, I'm not necessarily saying it's an easy thing, but I find a lot of, I don't know, good in trying to experience life for what it is and trying to experience the good in life. And I've been trying to implement the everything is new kind of mentality into my daily routine. And what I found is it makes everything so much better. Just like you shouldn't live in reference to anything, you shouldn't allow everything else to live in reference to itself when it comes to how you feel about it. And I'm not saying like you can't choose something you like more than something else, but when you're coming to your gratitude and your just overall enjoyment of life and whatever you experience and whatever you encounter, it's important to not necessarily diminish whatever it is you're looking at by referencing something else. I feel like we lose a lot when we look for something. The more you look, the more you lose. And that's to say that, when you're looking for something else, when we're constantly displacing ourselves in some reality that we're not currently in, we're acknowledging the fact that whatever it is that's in front of us, whatever it is that we already possess, is something that's not worthwhile or something that's not enough for us in the moment. And what I realized is that it's always enough, because you're always in the moment, and whatever the world doesn't give to you, you have to give to yourself. And I think to realize that is one thing, but to actually apply it is a much more difficult process, because I feel like we're sort of taught to allow the world to give us things and make us feel certain ways about ourselves and certain ways about our action, when we should just be feeling a certain way because we want to feel a certain way. You want to be happy, so you find the things that make you happy, but it's not necessarily something that you need to constantly look for. It's something that you need to be present enough to see. You have to look, not observe, and not even observe, appreciate. Just learn to appreciate everything that's sort of around you, because it's an extension of your perspective. It's an extension of your experience, and it's important to realize that your experience has to be curated and cultivated by who you are, not how the world is. In my own case, I find like sometimes I'm in situations where I'm like, dang, I'm really not appreciating the situation. I'm not present enough to appreciate it. And sometimes when I wake up, you don't want to start with a positive intention. You don't want to get up and get active. But I find that, discipline, I said this in the last video, I think discipline is, in my opinion, the greatest form of self-love. It's almost like affirming to yourself that whatever is going on in the world, whatever it is, you will persist. And your idea and whatever you want will persist. It's not about trying to think that the universe is working in your favor, or the world is working in your favor, or God, or whatever you want to, call it. It's about realizing that you have to work for your favor as well. You have to put the effort and intention in to your life, to your affections, to whatever you want. Otherwise, they can't come into reality because you're not making them real. I find that our dreams and whatever we want has the realness that we give to it. It always has the intention, the passion, the energy that we allow to be present within it. And it's about expanding your definition of yourself and expanding the definition of what you want, your desires, and how much you feel like you can feel, to the point where it doesn't matter. Everything out here is really just for us to experience, and it's a gift, in my opinion. The more we allow things to live in reference to each other, the more attached we are to certain reference points. the more we only exist in reference to other things. And if you only live in reference, you can never be the subject. I feel like the overall importance in life isn't to find so many things that you value, to get attached to this is and the other, but find the things inside you that you value, and realize what things in you make you value the things out here, and realize that you're not the things you value out here. You know, I feel like when it comes to any of our possessions and any of the things that make us feel good about ourselves, it's never about the item, it's about how it makes you feel. It's about how everything makes you feel. And in some way, I feel like we're very selfish in that way, but selfless at the same time. Because I feel like the more I've been trying to become more indebted to like my own mentality and how I feel about certain stuff, and really treating myself with care, I'm inclined to treat others with care, because I realize that they're people too. I realize that, you know, you see your own humanity in other people a lot. And a lot of times we see ourselves in other people in regards to how we feel about them. A lot of what we dislike in others is what we see in ourselves. Because once I learned to accept myself, like everyone else is just as they are. Even if I don't necessarily mess with a person, if I feel like I don't mess with a situation, it really just is as it is. I can get myself out of that situation, and if I can't, then I have to do what I can with what I have. But at the end of the day, I have to realize that I'm also a part of that situation. And I feel like this is one of the most prominent points in my mentality. I feel like it's just the realization that you bring stuff to the table as well. You know, you're also a part of every situation you encounter. You're also a part of everything you encounter. And it's important to realize that you can bring whatever you want to a situation. And realizing that everything is new it's about bringing yourself to the present. Bringing yourself to a life without reference to so many other things. And I'm not saying that in regards to, you know, don't put yourself in a dangerous situation because it's a new situation. But put yourself in a place of exploration, of curiosity, once again, for the world, because I feel like that's where you can change and grow once you truly experience what it means to be present, what it means to be in the moment enough to see the moment, to be within it. Because a lot of times I feel like we think about moments more than we actually live them. I feel like life is thought more than it is lived. And it's not necessarily, I feel like, just because we think about it, but because I feel like we've been so taught, so inclined to think that overthought about certain situations is an overall benefit. You know, we're almost taught to overthink just to displace our own mental anguish at times. And a lot of times what people find to do to counteract their overthinking is overtly negative towards them. I feel like it's that realization that sort of helped me realize that, you know, you sort of have to replace bad habits with something positive. You know, if you don't build your foundation, then something else will. And a lot of times we allow it to be built by things that aren't necessarily for us. A lot of times we think it's two stable structures, but at the end of the day, they cause each other to collapse. Because you and idea and you and reality are often two different things if you don't allow yourself to shine through the cracks of your own ego and your own understanding. I feel like that for me is just constantly like reminding myself and humbling myself in regards to like whatever mentality, whatever I'm thinking, and realizing that there's always room. There's always room to grow. You know, we'll always feel that tiny bit of lack as long as we have more to gain. And the thing that I think we can gain most is ourselves. Because there's always going to be new situations and always going to be new things to experience. And we shouldn't diminish our experience just by living in reference to past experiences. And I'm not saying, you know, if you try the same food spot and eat it over and over again, you're going to like it or try to like it. But if that's what you have to do, then do it. Your enjoyment in life is ultimately going to be dictated by how you see it. Not how it is always, because it is as it is. And you have to realize that it's your perspective that changes whatever it is that you're looking at, that changes how you feel about something. You know, and it's about playing with the cards that are dealt, not having necessarily expectation. It's okay to have a preference. It's okay to do this and the other. But like if I go out and let's say I want to get some type of food spot and my friend said just another, and then I have to go to the other spot. You know, when I'm eating that other spot's food, I shouldn't be constantly thinking, man, I wish I had this. Man, I wish I had that. Diminishing your own experiences only diminishes your experience. And while it's like, you know, there's some truth aspect to the realization that you might want something else, I realize living in that negative or living in an outcome that's not present is sort of being disingenuous to yourself in the moment. Realizing that your gratitude has to be placed within every ounce of your presence, not just in thought, but also in action. And I feel like the action that expresses gratitude the most is treating everything like it's new and treating each day like a new life. Understanding that your experience is you, and you have to learn to love whatever that is, regardless, because at the end of the day, it's all that is for you. Your perspective has to be curated to whatever you want your life to be like. Otherwise, it's not going to be what you want your life to be like. And I realize that sometimes it's hard, and sometimes we're put in situations that sort of take us away. Like, I'm definitely busier than I've ever been in my entire life, but hopefully it changes soon. And it's just about finding those small ways to bring yourself back to the moment and treat yourself like a friend. Like if I'm doing homework and studying for 3 hours, I'm gonna give myself that break. I'm gonna be lenient with myself. Like, when your parents kind of just let you go out, let you play a little extra, like just do that for yourself and give yourself that love, but also have a little bit of truth to it. Realize that your actions do have consequences, especially for yourself. And I feel like taking responsibility for yourself allows you to have more fun with life, because you realize that if you put the proper amount of work in, or you take care of your certain things, then there's nothing to stress about. There's nothing but life to be lived. And I feel like a stressed eye sees a stressed world, and an unstressed eye sees an unstressed world. It's about looking and taking everything for what it is. Like if I'm studying for hours, I'm not just like, man, I wish I was doing something else. Man, I wish I was doing this, that, and the other. I'm just like, well, let me study. I need to do this because I don't understand. It's about being honest and disciplined with yourself, because you have to realize whenever those tests comes around, whenever anything in life comes around that you needed to prepare for, you're going to want to be prepared. Because if you're prepared, then you can be calm. If you're prepared, then you can be present. And I feel like that preparation isn't necessarily necessary to be present, but in reference to actually applying yourself to what you're doing, you have to have some sort of aspect that you contribute. Something that you give to your situation, and something that you give to yourself to be able to traverse the situation. And a lot of times that's really just love and attention. Understanding what drives you and what you need to help drive you even further. Because at the end of the day, it's you. We're the only ones that live in reference to ourselves, and we can be the only ones with ourselves 100% of the time. I feel like a lot of times change is inevitable when growth is your goal. And you have to be with yourself throughout your change, and understand that, the more you hold yourself back from previous perspectives, or hold yourself back by having and holding on to your previous perspectives of things, you make it harder to find something new within yourself, because you're constantly living in something familiar just by the fact that it looks familiar. Not every interaction with one person is going to be the same. You have to also realize your responsibility for these certain situations. Like sometimes I go to a restaurant, try something new. Sometimes you want to talk to a friend. Sometimes you want to talk to a new person. But when you're talking to that friend, maybe bring up something that's new. Something that you guys haven't talked about. It's about understanding that there's so much more depth to whatever it is that we find familiar than we, often see. And it's that depth that allows you to see more depth within yourself, and more depth within any action that takes place within you. And once you understand that, I feel like it's just about experience life for what it is. Not everything is going to be known, but I feel like living in the unknown is the only way to get to know yourself. Because it's when you don't have a building block, when you don't have this structure, this bubble, this shell that you are comfortable with, that you see the discomfort that is your character. And I feel like our character is a lot of times that discomfort, but it's not necessarily something that has to be uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with yourself while you're changing. I feel like comfortable with yourself while you're uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, it's just you and you. It's not you versus the world, or you versus circumstance, or you versus anything. It's you and you. That's it. It's about taking care of your perspective and yourself enough to realize that that's all. So if you made it this far in the video, I would encourage trying to look at stuff like this new. And if it's difficult, it's just about doing your best. It's not always about, adopting this stuff and using it 100% of the time, because that's not even something I can do. But if you made it this far, thank you. I much appreciate it. Love you guys, and hope you're taking care of yourselves. Hope you're treating yourself like a friend. Hope you're doing what you can, what you have, with what you have. All in all, I appreciate you guys, and